Imagine racing Christoph Strasser, arguably the world's premier ultracyclist in his own home country of Austria. Today's guest, Philipp Kaider, did exactly that and came in just behind Christoph in second place in the Race Around Niedero sterreich, abbreviated RAN, or translated to English, the Race Around Lower Austria. Philipp, as a local Austrian himself, was a smoker for over 10 years, from the young age of 15, and has only been racing ultras for the last 4 years, but has already achieved a lot. On today's episode, we'll discuss his stellar performance at RAN, in addition to his experiences with the Race Around Austria, Race Around Slovenia, Glocknermann, Ultracycling World Championship, and other 24-hour races. I'm your host, Justin Tu. Let's roll. Hey, Ultra family, Justin Tu here, your host of the Ultracycling Show. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode, where we are very privileged to be able to have a segment about a race overseas in Austria, the Race Around Niedero sterreich. I think I'm saying that correctly, but my guest today is Philipp Kaider. Hi, Philipp. Thanks for joining me on the show today.
Hello, Justin. Thank you for the invitation. Your pronunciation is really good.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, but just for folks to be able to compare my pronunciation with yours, why don't you go ahead and say the race yourself?
It's called Race Around Niedero sterreich. It's a race around the state in Austria. It's a sprint distance because it's only 600 kilometers long, and we did 6,000 meters in height.
Wow. Okay. So for folks at home who don't know, then 6,000 kilometers is just about 372 miles. And the climbing, how much did you say there was? 3,000 meters?
6,000 in
6,000.
height.
Okay. So that's just about 20,000 feet. So that is that is still a very challenging ride. It's more than what we have, which a lot of viewers are familiar with here in California or the United States. We have double centuries. Those are 200-mile rides. That's much shorter, and typically it's more like 10 to 15,000 feet of climbing. There's a few that are closer to 20,000. And so this one is a very long distance. They would call it, well, almost a quadruple century, almost 400 miles, and there's 20,000 feet. And so for folks who don't know, so Niedero sterreich is actually, it stands for Lower Austria, right? So Race Around Lower Austria. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And so for those who would like a bit of geography lesson today, we can show everyone. So Lower Austria is one of the states of Austria. Now, this is a test for you, Philipp. How many states are there in Austria?
There are 9.
Okay, 9 states. Yes.
And
you're the winner. You got that correct. Awesome. So it's a race around Lower Austria, and it looks beautiful. Just looking here on Google, I could see different images. Very beautiful countryside and a lot of nice architecture and buildings there. Now, do you actually live here in Lower Austria?
Yes, I live in Lower Austria. It's where the wine grows. It's called the wine viertel.
Ah.
So I live about 20 kilometers in east from Vienna. So I'm living really central and not too central, so it's perfect for riding the bike.
Okay, very cool. And how's the weather there year round? Does it snow around there? Are you at elevation?
No, we are about 200 meters over the sea level. So when I was a child, we had snow, but now it's getting only cold, about 0 degrees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the climate change melts all the snow down, so you could ride all the year outside.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Okay. And so big congratulations on your stellar performance at the Race Around Niedero sterreich. You got second place just behind Christoph Strasser, but a fantastic time. Looks like 18 hours, 26 minutes in the solo division. And third place was Robert Mueller, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that was a fantastic result. Now, you obviously have done ultracycling for many years, and I want to dive into that and more. But let's first start with a quick sprint round of questions, just a short list of questions for us to get to know you in a nutshell. You could answer in a few sentences. So the first question is, of course, well, how long have you been riding bicycles?
I started as a child, so everyone learns how to ride a bicycle to get from A to B. But when I was 15, I thought it's important to start smoking. So I did this 10 years. And when I started working on an ICU as a male nurse, I thought I have to quit this. And at this point, I was 25 years old, and I started to lift some weight. But I didn't like it so much, and I tried to ride a bike just to not to think about the next cigarette, because I was addicted as every smoker is. And then I just liked to ride the bike, and at a ride I met Bernhard. He cycled in front of me, and I thought, yes, I can catch this rider. And we chat, and there he told me that ultracycling exists. So this was the point I get to in touch with this kind of cycling.
Oh, that's an awesome story. To show folks here you on the podium at Race Around Niedero sterreich. So incredible start to your ultracycling career. You were actually a smoker for about 10 years from a young age.
Yes,
and so of course you were addicted, and it was very difficult, but you started working in the ICU as a male nurse, and that's kind of where everything changed for you. And so you started lifting weights. Then of course you met a good friend, Bernhard, and I think we have some photos with him here. So this is now your crew chief, and also he was your partner in crime in your first ultracycling races.
Yes, he is.
And actually, I do have another photo that I'd like to show folks. This one, so we could see him giving you some motivation there.
Yes, as when I'm, especially in the night, I'm really struggling. Nearly in every race, I'm struggling in the night with my motivation, and I'm thinking about why I'm doing this, or it's so hard. I just only can go work, and after work I lay down, but I'm always doing my training. And this is the hardest time at every race, and this is where Bernhard really helps me and catches me when I'm really down. So he's really important in every race for me.
Yeah, it's essential to have a good crew and definitely a good crew chief. So you've been riding bicycles since you were young. You've been an ultracyclist for about, what, the last 9-10 years then?
Not so long. I started, my first race was 2016. Now it's my 4th year in ultracycling.
Incredible.
And my 3rd year as a solo rider.
Okay, so we'll get to the list of accomplishments you have after this sprint round of questions. So getting back to those questions now, I'm wondering, how many bicycles do you own?
Well, the right number, the bicycles you can own is N+1, but in my case, I own 4.
Oh, cool.
At the
Nice.
no, sorry, 5 at the moment.
Wow. Okay. So just 4 years of ultracycling and you've already accumulated a nice set of bicycles. Now, which of those is your favorite bicycle?
Um, it's hard to say, but I love my time trial bike, but I love also my climbing bike, and it's
Hmm.
hard to say which I prefer. I love both.
Right, right. Yeah, it's always difficult to decide. Now, is this your time trial bike?
Yes, it is.
Very nice. Looks fast and beautiful. Must be a lot of fun to ride.
Yes, it is really.
And who is this other gentleman with you in the photo?
it's it's a friend. We did really much party when he smoked and I smoked, and then
Oh.
we didn't meet many years, and he also changed like me, but now he's in biohacking,
Hmm.
and he's in Austria in the biohacking scene. Everybody knows him, and also in Germany, and he helps me a lot with his supplements.
Oh, interesting. So biohacking, that's another subject for the show. Very cool. Okay, so you have 5 bicycles. You like your time trial bike especially. What bicycle computer do you use? Do you use like a Garmin, a Wahoo, or is there another
Yes,
brand?
I have, since I started cycling, I use Garmin, and now I use the 1030
Hmm.
because it's perfect for navigation. And the Akku, is it accumulator in English? I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Is really good.
Okay, very cool. Okay. Now, do you train with power or heart rate or anything like that?
I only train with power. I have my heart rate, um, but I don't care about it.
Hmm.
It's just for my trainer.
Hmm. Okay, makes sense. So, do you know what your functional threshold power is, your FTP?
I think before the race around this year, it was about 350.
Wow. So that's very high. So you are a very strong rider then.
Try to, but FTP is not all in ultracycling.
Yes,
It's
that
just
is,
a number.
yes. But I'm sure that makes for some good training then. And I'd imagine your training regimen is very good then, and you could do a lot of structured training. So I'm showing everyone here a photo. It looks like you are maybe doing an FTP test.
Yes, it was FTP test where we measured lactate. It's an old picture with
Mm,
my old coach.
mm.
At this picture, you see also my one of my favorite bikes. It's my climbing bike,
Ah, and it looks like
and
it's maybe a Cannondale. Is that what it is?
yes, it's a Super
Ah,
6 high mode, the second one.
mm, cool.
And now we do the power testing with the in seat, if you know the system.
Mm, that's pretty cool.
So you don't have to take blood or measure lactate. It's
Mm.
just an algorithm.
Ah, cool. So you have a very high FTP. I'm curious then, do you also race in shorter road races?
And no, I
Mm.
don't like these stressy situations where in the peloton. I
Mm.
don't like this.
Right, right, right.
So
Okay.
it's too much risk to crash for me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so now getting back to our questions. For a ride like RAN or the Race Around Austria or any other ultra cycling event that you do, I know you've done a lot of 24-hour events. What are some of your favorite ride snacks?
My snacks.
Yeah.
um,
What do you like to eat on the
I
bike?
when I'm in training, I eat from X Sports, the X Sports Power cakes.
Hmm.
It's, like, it's a
Oh,
cake
okay.
with many oats. but when I'm racing, I take the same nutrition as Christoph Strasser. It's only liquid.
Ah, I see. The Ensure, or is there another brand of product there in Austria?
No, I take Ensure
Oh, okay.
and
Now, what's
and
your
a
favorite?
powder drink.
What's your favorite flavor of Ensure?
It's chocolate or vanilla.
Ah,
I
yeah,
don't like the other ones because they sometimes it tastes so chemically,
yeah,
and
Okay,
it makes the decision easier if you have only two to choose.
right, exactly. Okay, now after a long, hard ride or race, what's your favorite post-ride meal? What do you like to eat after a hard ride?
A lot. I don't. After a hard ride, I don't care what I'm eating. I just want to eat a lot. Uh,
Okay. Now, are there any specific Austrian specific foods that you enjoy eating?
uh, yeah. When it's off the season, of course, I like to eat the Wiener Schnitzel,
Ah, yeah.
but it's not so functional if you eat it because it's really fatty and so.
Mm.
So in the season, I just eat clean.
Ah, okay.
Don't eat convenience food. I always cook by myself. I
Mm.
just eat fresh food.
Oh, that's great. So you're very disciplined when it comes to nutrition. That's nice to hear. Now, what?
That's sorry. That's a really big part of my success, the nutrition,
Mm,
because um, then you only can have the power. It's
mm,
what I think should every rider take care of is to eat clean.
mm. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. It is a very important subject that perhaps some people don't consider, but it is just as important as your training and also your resting. What you eat and how you feel your body is very important. So thank you for sharing that. That's nice, and I hope we can discuss that in more detail. Now, when was your last ride and how long was it?
My last run was today, and it was 1 hour after my work.
Cool.
And because for me, after the Race Around Niedero sterreich, it's part of my off season. So just come down, relax a little bit, and I don't know what my trainer will do next week,
Mm.
but this week was very easy. So
Oh,
I enjoy also this time of the year really much because the rest of the year it can be also really tough.
right. Okay, very cool. So I'm glad you are on a bit of an off season, able to take a break. I'm sure you've ridden hard this season already. Now, do you know how tall you are and how much you weigh?
And 1 meter 85 high, and my weight is about 75 to sometimes also 77 kilograms. Off season 77 because I really love to eat. Uh, but I try to get down to 75 in the season.
Oh, okay. So for us folks in the US, so 1.85 meters, that's about 6 feet tall. And you said 75 kilograms in the season, about 165 pounds. Okay, cool.
Not the latest one.
Yeah, okay. But now, in terms of the terrain when you bike, do you prefer the climbs, descents, rollers, or the flats?
Well, in Lower Austria, it's the name says it all. We have a lot of flats, even
Mm.
where I live. If I want to ride 200-meter high, I have to ride 1 hour to the next uh, climb. Yes, it's a climb in Austria.
Okay, makes sense. So it's pretty flat there where you are. So you're doing a lot of training there, I guess a lot faster perhaps, and not so many hills to climb. Now,
Yes,
going
that's
down a
true.
hill, Are you quite comfortable? Do you know what your max your top speed has been going down a hill?
Yes, it was this year down from the Kütai, that's in Tyrol. It was 121 kilometers per hour.
Wow. 121 kilometers per hour. That's 75 miles per hour. That is really fast.
Yes, I didn't recognize this, but after the ride, I looked at my Garmin and he said 121. I thought, wow, this could be also not so good if you have a flat or something.
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, I think Philip, I think you have the new show record. I think you have the fastest downhill speed so far. I think before that, let's see, we've had, I think Marco Ballo and one other that was around 65 miles an hour, and you got 75 miles per hour.
Yeah, maybe Marco has to come to Austria.
Yeah.
It's not so far from him.
Yeah, it's not, right? Slovenia, that is, let's see, the south of Austria, is it?
Yes, true.
Right. Okay, cool. So a lot of strong riders that are around that area. Now, you live in Lower Austria, and which city do you live in?
It's called Wolkersdorf.
Ah, I see. I won't try to say that. But now nearby, is it nearby Graz? That's the
No,
starting
no.
line.
It's nearby Vienna, and Graz is about 2 hours away.
I see. Okay. So you're nearby Vienna, which is the capital of Austria, correct?
Yes.
I see. Okay. But Graz, so that's 2 hours away. And that's where Christoph Strasser and Severin Zotter live, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Now, let's see. You're in Lower Austria, so that's one of the 9 states of Austria. Is Graz in the same state, Lower Austria, or is that in a different state?
No, Graz is in a different state. It's in Styria.
Oh, Styria. Okay, great. Very cool. Thanks for sharing all that information for all of us. Okay, so very fast downhill speed. Congratulations. You hold the first place on the show for that. We'll see if anybody ever bests your downhill speed. Now, when do you enjoy riding the most, Philip? Do you enjoy riding during the fall, the winter, the spring, or the summertime?
I enjoy the most at spring and summertime. I hate the fall and the winter because I'm not so tough when it comes to the cold temperature. So from November to March, I only ride inside on my trainer.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you prefer riding outdoors, whereas we've had a number of guests on the show who actually prefer indoor training.
Yeah, I don't prefer it, but
Yeah.
I don't like the cold, so I do it inside, and also because of the structured training. In the winter, the most training parts are from the at the VO2 max.
Mm,
So if you do this outside, you sweat a lot, and then you have a recreation time, a few minutes, and then you get cold. It's cold, and
right.
then the chance to get a cold is higher. So that's also a reason why I do this rides indoor.
Mm. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Now, what time of day do you prefer riding? Morning, afternoon, evening?
In the morning when I wake up, I take a breakfast and just do the ride and training, because then I have a big thing done and have free time and recreation time.
Yeah,
So
cool.
I don't like riding in the afternoon,
Right.
because then I always have in my mind I have to do something. So I like to do all I have to do in the morning, because then my mind is free and I can cool down.
Oh, that's great. So it sounds like from everything we've discussed so far, you very much are disciplined with everything that you do, which I'm sure explains why you've been able to be so successful in just a few short years. So That's really great. Now, I have another question for you along those lines. What do you think ultracycling requires more, physical or mental training?
For sure, mental. Because if you're not strong enough on the mental side, you can't. You're not able to do the training every day and do the hard training every day. So the part of the body comes after the mental side. It comes from alone. So if you're mentally strong enough and can do the training, the body, you don't have to do something for your body. It comes alone and gets alone stronger.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I would say I agree with that. Okay, Philipp, last question here before we dive into everything else. What is your favorite ultra cycling event that you've done in the last 4 years?
Oh, I'm not sure. I really loved. Okay, I think it was the race around Slovenia. Was I'm really glad that I could race. So the last one, that it was like original. Now they have to ride another track, and that really got me because when you ride in another country where nobody knows you, and you ride through the night, and you see a person on the street in the middle of the night screaming your name, it's awesome. You think you're insane. So you ask your crew if this was true what you're seeing.
Right.
And the Slovenian people are so crazy. They dive really deep into the cycling and they cheer every rider. So this was a great race.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like the Paris-Brest Paris that a lot of our randonneurs on the show have shared about in France. The same kind of sentiment, a lot of support, people coming out and cheering, and it really makes it quite a good experience. Well, thank you for that, Philipp. Now, you did send me a whole list of your accomplishments, again, just in the last 4 years. Can't believe it, but you've been very successful, and I'd love to share that with everybody. So you started with just a short 250-kilometer race, and then you quickly, in 2016, you partnered with your now crew chief, Bernhard, and you did the two-person 24-hour relay. And in the same year, 2016, you did the two-person relay for the Race Around Austria, which is just about 1,400 miles and 100,000 feet of climbing. And you both placed second place just before Severin Zotter in that year. 2017, you achieved first place in the Race Around Austria in the two-person relay. And then, of course, in 2018, as you just mentioned, you competed in the Race Around Slovenia, and you achieved the third place in the solo division then. And Bernhard was your crew chief because at that point, he decided to retire from racing himself, right?
Yes.
And then in the same year, 2018, you won first place in the 24-hour Cup in Austria, which comprised 3 24-hour races where you achieved fourth place, first place, and second place. And the first place was based on the most kilometers that you rode across those 3 events, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And then just last year, you competed in the 2019 Glocknermann Ultracycling World Championship. That one was 1,000 kilometers, and you achieved second place. And as part of that, if I'm understanding correctly, you started that race. It's in Graz in Styria within Austria. And that's, again, where Christoph Strasser and Severin Zotter live. And you had to climb 2 times the highest mountain in Austria, and which is the Glocknermann, right?
Yes, Großglockner is it called? Yeah. The highest mountain in Austria.
Very cool. Now, that's a lot of accomplishments, and congratulations to all of that which you've accomplished in just a few years. I'm very excited to follow your journey in the coming years. I'm sure there's a lot on your radar. Along those notes, what are some of the races that you have on your bucket list? I suppose for us here in America, of course, we'd be curious to know if you think of coming to the race across America someday.
Maybe in the future, but it's hard to say yes, I will come, or it's not good. Well, I learned a lot in ultracycling, and I learned the most in my two DNFs. And what I learned is that you can't plan anything. So maybe I will come to America. I would always appreciate it, but when the time is, I will come. I can't plan it. I just have to take it step by step, do my next races. If they will be good, we can think about it. But now it's not the best time to say yes or no. So we will see.
Yeah, and well, I'm sure you will at some point, because it's the way that you've been riding, you're riding very strong, and also very quickly from 2016 have competed in a lot of very difficult races there in Austria and in Slovenia. But now you did mention you have some DNFs, so you did not finish, and that was the Race Around Austria in 2019 and 2020, right? Why don't you share your experiences with us? What had happened and what did you learn?
In 2019, I thought I can do it with two less sleep. So I woke up at 7 in the morning, and the race started at about 7 p.m. And we thought, okay, I ride 30 to 36 hours and then take a power nap at about 20 minutes, and then go on and ride to the finish. But we didn't think about it that I woke up 12 hours before the race started. So when I took the first power nap, I was about 46 hours awake. That was too much. So I did the race, and it was awful, and I don't know anything from the Großglockner, not going uphill or downhill, and also the next mountain, the Hochkönig. I don't know the climb or the descent. And I was in first place, 100 kilometers away from the finish line, and I just got asleep when I was sitting on the bike. So I always, it was really dangerous with the cars and the traffic. So my crew said they have to take me out and to quit the race. It was too dangerous. And if you ride a race or do a race and you can't remember the last 10 hours, then it's too dangerous to keep on cycling. So it's one DNF, okay, but if you crash, that's your only life you have. So
yeah, that takes a lot of discipline in itself to know when to stop and to come back another day. But also glad you have a very good crew that was there to protect you, and glad you were safe from that and can live for another event. And I think it worked out, because you did get a very nice second place in the Race Around Niedero sterreich. So again, big congratulations on that.
Thank you. But before that race, I had my second DNF at the Race Around Austria. I tried the same race this year, but I wasn't free in my mind, but I didn't recognize it before the race. So I I wanted to show all my team and my sponsors that I can do it and I can ride really fast. So I made a lot of pressures, but not my team or my sponsors, but I did it on my own. So my head was full of thinking, can I do it? Will I ride fast enough? What about the other riders? And it was too much pressure for me and too much thinking about others. And in an ultracycling race, it's normal that your power goes down after 20 hours or 18 hours. It doesn't care. But when I saw it on my back computer, I was thinking about, okay, if I'm only riding 200 watts, I will never can climb any hill. I can't. So I quit it on my own because I wasn't strong enough from the mental side, and I was thinking about quitting cycling at all.
Wow.
And it was a really tough weeks because then I thought, okay, I sell all the bikes, I take a dog and go for a walk every day. And when I thought about this, I recognized that this wouldn't make me happy. So if I quit cycling, I quit a big part in my life, and I didn't know what to do or with this big part. So it wouldn't be a fulfilled life for me. So then I recognized that it's not the right time to quit cycling. And I tried, as I said, okay, I do the race around Niedero sterreich, but I don't look at the others or don't look anything. So in the race, my teammates ask me if I want to know where the other riders are, but I didn't want to know anything. I just rode and rode, and 40 kilometers before the finish line, I said, okay, tell me where the others are. And then they said, okay, Robert Müller is 3 minutes behind you. Just press, push.
Yeah.
And
incredible.
Then it was one of the best races I did because I didn't have any pressures, because I didn't know anything. And that's what I learned in this race. Just look on your own. Don't care about anything else. It's a long race. Anything can happen.
Right.
And also my DNF at the Race Around Austria this year, before I quit, I laid down in the team bus 3 hours. And after 3 hours, the second place who won the race came in, and so I was 3 hours before the second one, and I just had to ride, and for sure I would have won this race, but if you're not free in your mind, you're not able to push or go 1 kilometers.
Yeah, so true. A lot of great lessons there that I'm sure many of us ultra riders and racers have had to learn through time. And I think perhaps, although you've been very successful in such a short amount of time, one of the things that it sounds like you're still obtaining is that valuable experience that you get, and you can only get through racing and even having a DNF here and there, but you learn valuable lessons that are helping a lot. And of course, both of those Race Around Austria DNFs has helped you tremendously, because you were able to, in the Race Around Niedero sterreich, get second place, and that was an incredible achievement. So thanks for sharing all those lessons that you've learned. I'm sure those tips will help a lot of other riders who are watching and who can gather some inspiration from the experiences that you've had. I think it is true to focus on your own race, It is difficult because, of course, you're just about 34 years old, so you're young and very competitive. So it is a difficult thing to be able to learn to just ride your race as hard as you can. But it's cool to hear that you actually did ask towards the end of Ran who was around you, and you said Robert Mueller was just about 3 minutes behind, but it looks like when all was said and done, you were able to finish quite ahead of him. Let's see, 22 minutes ahead of him. So it sounds like you were racing very hard there towards the end.
Yes, also Christoph Strasser said my finishing was really strong, and he told me that the organizers from the Race Around Niedero told me that the last, I think it was 200 kilometers, I had the same time with Christoph Strasser, and the last kilometers, he lost 3 minutes, Christoph. So
Wow.
he lost his motivation because I couldn't catch him, but I had enough motivation because Robert Müller was hunting me. So it's all in the mind.
Right. Wow, that must have been some very exciting racing, and I'm sure everybody that was following along with that race was having a great time. Well, from what I could tell, it seemed like there was quite a lot of live video and all kinds of media covering that event, so it must be very popular.
That's because of the COVID situation in Austria. There are no people allowed at the stage or in front of the stage. So they thought what to do, and they made a live coverage with 6 cameras. It was the first time in any that race will have live coverage, and it was really popular because normally you have live tracking, and then at this time you first see all the racers, you see how they're doing, how they look like, and you can get more in touch with the racers. So I hope and think that will be the future in ultracycling events in Austria.
That is very exciting, and I think it does give a different personality to the races and allows us to really enjoy. Like I said, even myself here sitting in California, I was able to tune in and was able to see some of the action happening all the way across the world in Austria. So it's very exciting, and glad you all have a very good race organizers and media teams there to capture all the excitement. Now, of course, Christoph Strasser is very popular here in the United States. So, many of us were very excited to see that, but also glad to meet you. And it seems like there's just so many strong riders in Austria. Is it something in the water, or what's going on over there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Before there were strong riders in Austria, they were all in Slovenia. So I don't know why ultracycling is so popular in Austria. I only have one answer, is that the first good one was in Slovenia, Juro, which everyone knows, and also Marco Baloch. And then there was Wolfgang Fasching in Austria, who made it a little bit popular, but Wolfgang inspired Christoph a lot. So, and Christoph made it really popular in Austria because he did a lot in the social media. And also he does a lot of speeches in Austria. So to get in touch with ultracycling, what does it mean? And he tells a lot about his events, what is mental fitness all about. And he kept in touch with a lot of people, and they talked with each other, and this makes it really popular. And also the media in Austria, the ORF, it's a state TV um, makes some documentation about Christoph. And so he's really popular in Austria, and there get more races in Austria, so where you can start as a team of 4 members, and get in touch with Ultracycling. So it's getting more and more popular, and I think that's the reason why there are so many in Austria.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine Christoph has definitely been a great ambassador for the sport. And so it is cool to see that happening, a lot of development. We also had recently an Indian ultra cyclist on the show, and I think you may have noticed yourself also in different races like the Race Across America. There's a lot of strong Indian ultra cyclists as well, and it seems like in that country there's a lot of ultracycling development going on. So it's exciting times, and I think an exciting time to be an ultra racer like you. I'm sure you appreciate all of the competition and also the attention. And so we'll be excited to keep tuning into all of the races there and following your journey. Now, for folks who aren't familiar with the Race Around Niedero sterreich, here is the map. So in Lower Austria, you start here in this city. Now, how do you pronounce that, Philip?
It's Weitra.
Weitra, okay.
Weitra, yes. They brew a really good beer in the off season. I tried.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, we'll have to come out to Austria and visit and make some shows there and race in some of those nice races that you have there. I'm sure there's very beautiful scenery there. So it's a 600-kilometer race, right? 372 miles,
yes.
And just about 20,000 feet of climbing. And so it literally looks like a race around the whole state. So tell me about the course and some of your favorite parts there.
First, it is really flat. You go with a time trial bike. I went with it about the first 10 hours till the first climb start. But you can't compete it with the climbs in the Alps because they're flat climbs. So it's just about 3 to 6% average.
Wow!
So it was the perfect race for me because I'm I would say a heavy rider, and if the climbs are steep, I'm really struggling.
Interesting. So it's mostly flat. You were saying it's not like riding in the Alps. So 3 to 7% grades, not too bad. So for those who aren't familiar, if we're looking here at the map of the course, so over here, Austria, and we were talking earlier about, let's see, Slovenia is here, south of Austria. And you said you live near Vienna, which we see here on the map, the capital of Austria. Very cool. And so this whole route, as we saw in the last image, is just about the whole Lower Austria state, Niedero sterreich. And it does look like, as you were saying, it's mostly flat in the beginning. And
yes.
then towards the end, you start having some climbs, but nothing too steep. So the first part then, I guess that was favorable for your kind of riding style, the flats. How were you feeling during that time? And were you in just a very nice tempo, a nice pace?
Yes, in the first 10 hours, my average was 35 kilometers per hour. So I was in time. What Bernhard calculated, I was on time. He calculated I have to ride 35 hours the first 10 hours, 35 kilometers per hour the first 10 hours. And when after 10 hours, I had 34 and 99.
Wow.
34 pound 99. So I was really on time. And
for those who here in the US who go by miles, so that's just about 22 miles per hour. So that's a very fast average speed.
Yeah, it's okay because Christoph had 39 kilometers per hour the first 10 hours. So it was much faster than me.
Right. Okay. So Christoph was about 24 miles per hour, whereas you were 22 miles per hour. But 22 miles per hour for the majority of us ultracyclists, that is a very fast, high average speed. And of course, you did end up achieving second place, so that was fantastic. And so in total, what was your total? It was 18. It was just about 18 hours, 26 minutes, right?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
So my average speed on the bike was 33.3 kilometers per hour, and with the pause, I had 32.4 kilometers per hour the whole race time.
Wow. Fantastic.
And my normalized power was 228 watts.
Wow. That's awesome. Again, I know you're comparing yourself there to Christoph, but of course he is arguably the best ultracyclist in the world, fastest at least. And so I think a second place behind him with your performance was exceptional. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. For me, it feels just like I won this race because I knew I can't be faster than Christoph, and I also thought if I get on the third place, I would be really happy because I know how fast Robert Müller rides. So I'm really happy to finish on the second place because I didn't think that I could do it. And after this, my coach said it was the right time that I show it to myself that I can push the watts and the data I do at the threshold power tests. So he always knew that I can do it, but I didn't know it. So
right. And I'm sure especially after the 2 DNFs in the Race Around Austria, it was weighing on your mind. But I think this was great to boost your confidence. So I'm excited to see what you're able to achieve after this great victory of second place. Now, I do have some photos here that I've seen from the photographers there at the event to give everyone a kind of a glimpse into what you were looking at when you were racing around Lower Austria. So it seems like a lot of very nice roads, very beautiful outside. Now these photos looks like you're going up some climbs. They're just very, very beautiful.
Yes, Lower Austria is beautiful, of course. The flats are not always because you have go through Wiener Neustadt. It's a city with a lot of traffic in the day, but in the night a lot of traffic lights. So you have to stop a lot.
I see.
But if you're through this city, then the climbs begins, the first climbs, and these are the photos you see now.
Yeah.
From the climbs, and it's really nice there because there is no traffic at all.
Right, right. Fantastic. It must be nice to be able to ride out there just in terms of training. I'm sure you ride along a lot of the same areas, right?
Yes, the climbs we rode in this race are really far away from where I live. So I only have flats, and it's kind of Kansas in Austria.
Right. I see. Okay. That's a good comparison. A lot of folks here in the US will know about Kansas. Very flat. Now, how was it the wind conditions and the weather in general? Was there any rain? Was there a lot of headwinds?
No, it was perfect weather. I think in the night we had 0 degrees. It was really cold, and this was the time I was struggling the most because I wasn't able to hold my bottle or drink anything.
Wow.
And I wasn't able to shift because I didn't feel my fingers.
Oh, no.
And as I said before, I hate cold weather.
Right. Now, on your bicycles that you were using, do you use the electronic shifting?
Yes. Also, since this year on my time trial bike, I bought electronic shifting because it's kind of luxury.
Okay, so getting back now to this fantastic result you had, I'm sure you've trained very hard for this race and many others. I'd like to get to know some of your training routine. What does that look like from week to week? How many days do you train? What kind of workouts are you doing?
So I train 6 times a week with 1 day off. And normally, as you know, I work as a main nurse. I do 12.5 hours shift, so day shift and night shift. So it's very nice for training when you do this shift. So I work for 32 hours per week. It's about 2 day shifts and 1 night shift. And so I can do a training before the night shift, after the night shift, and there's only 1 day I have to do a training after a 12.5 hour shift.
Oh.
So the most training I do is in my spare time. And so I'm able to train about 23 to 26 hours per week, but it depends on my macro planning from my coach. So in the winter, when I develop my VO2 max, I do only 15 to 18 hours per week. But in the spring, where my VO2 max is developed and I'm trying to decrease my lactate production rate, increase the time. So it's also possible that I train there 30 hours a week with a lot of kilometers and not so high intensity.
Now, during that phase, what is the most kilometers that you're riding on your longest rides?
I think it's about 240. When I have to do an 8-hour ride, I get to 240, 260, I'm not sure.
Okay, so just about 150 or so miles. So those are some nice rides. Now, on those rides, are you doing them with any kind of structure in them?
On those long rides, yes, I have some parts on my fat max zone and also on my recovery zone.
Very cool. Now, what's your strategy and routine for events? You know, say you just did the RAN recently. In preparation for them, do you have any kinds of traditions that you do, or do you like to sleep a certain amount before the race? How do you prepare for the actual race?
So I'm struggling with preparing because before races I'm really nervous. I can't sleep so good. So I don't have a routine because I'm still searching for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and again, I mean, just 4 years of ultracycling, but you've done a lot, and it's incredible that you would achieve such a result, second place, and only behind Christoph Strasser. And so I can only imagine once you learn all of these things and optimize every aspect of your racing, that perhaps the first place is not too far away.
We will see. It's a long way to Christoph, and I'm not sure if I can achieve the same power he is pushing. So he's working a lot and really hard and this over years to get this strong, and we will never know, or now we don't know if I can be as good as he is.
Yeah,
We will see.
yeah, we'll watch and see. Now, tell me about what motivates you. So it's been 4 years, but you've been signing up for very difficult ultra events, and you're training a lot. You're getting very strong. What is motivating you?
Um, Years ago, my motivation was just to try ultracycling races, try to get along with him riding as a solo competitor. Now, also my motivation is to win races. So I'm a racer, and every racer wants to win. But also this makes a lot of pressure in your mind. So maybe it's not the best motivation in the race, but when you prepare for a race and do the training, it's the best motivation, of course.
Yeah, very good perspectives. That is very true. And it seems like you've already learned quite a lot in terms of the mindset that you need to be successful. And so I think it's just a matter of time for you to be able to gather all the experience and more years of racing, and it'll be fun to watch and see what you're able to accomplish with more experience.
Yeah, I hope you will watch.
Yes, we will, especially if they keep broadcasting the races there in Austria live. And well, hopefully you could also compete in the other ones around Europe. And then eventually we'd love to have you here in the United States. It'll be fun to see you racing. Now we have had Christoph and we've had Severin Zotter before, and they put on quite a show in the Race Across America. Many other Europeans
Yes.
and cyclists from around the world. Now, tell me, Philip, what do you think most people don't realize about ultracycling, whether it's a non-cyclist or just a non-ultra cyclist?
They don't realize the work behind, the time you spend, not only training, only the organization, the amount of team members you need, and also the costs, because ultracycling is really expensive. So if I wouldn't have any sponsors, I wouldn't be able to do this, because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
I did it 2 years with Bernhard when we started. Everyone paid the half of the cost, but after this, you can't afford it all the time, because you need money for to buy a flat or a car or something.
Right.
So you can't afford it without sponsors. And with sponsors, you have to know anyone in a company who says, okay, I like what you do and I give you money, because it's not so good at work for the sponsors, because ultracycling isn't popular like soccer or football in the US.
Right. Yeah. A lot of good points that you've made there. And I think it goes to show how much you have to balance as an ultra cyclist, that there's so many details from the racing, the nutrition, the training, as you've discussed already, but then of course the logistics and the costs, those are always a big deal, especially when it comes to competing internationally. And if you were to come to the US, it's not a cheap operation to bring a whole crew out here and be able to race across America. But again, glad that in this day and age we have a lot of technology, and with the recent race that you did, there was a live broadcast of that. So, perhaps we are at the beginnings of more popularity for ultracycling, and of course that's one of the missions and objectives of this show, to be able to showcase ultracycling, and especially on the global stage. So thanks again for joining us on the show. It's nice to have somebody from Austria here on the show. Again, our first Austrian ultracyclist. So you can add that to your list of accomplishments. Now, Philip, as we close out with a few other questions, I want to know, do you have any specific ultracycling role models or inspirations? I'd imagine perhaps Christoph is also one of them. Are there others as well?
For me, first it was Bernhard when I met him, because I didn't know any other. But then, of course, Christoph, because when I started ultracycling, I had many questions, and I just wrote him on Facebook, and he answers any questions you have. He's such a nice person. And then also Severin Zotter, because his mental strongness, and there's also a book where he gave an interview, and then he told about his mental strongness and where it comes from. And also I like Pierre Bischoff really much. He won also a ram. He's from Germany, and I like the coolness from Ralph Disigiscore. I also know him, and sometimes I'm also a crew member. Right. I'm not always riding.
Cool. Now tell me about this photo here, Philip. I saw on your Facebook.
This is this guy works with me on the ICU, and he bought this motorcycle, and it's in Austria it's really popular. It's a Puch Maxi, and you can ride with it about 45 kilometers per hour in the flat, and if you climb, normally it only runs 30 to 20 kilometers per hour. So he bought this motorcycle, and I said, you can't do this faster than me. So we did a time trial. But
that's cool.
Before the time trial, he was in he did a service on his motorcycle, so it was really fast.
Oh, cool.
And he was, I think, about nearly 2 or 3 minutes faster than me. But it was so much fun because there weren't any races because of the COVID pandemic.
Right.
So we thought we had to do our own race. And there is a video from the race also on my Facebook site. You can find it if you're clicking on the videos. And it's really fun.
Yeah, well, glad you're able to have a lot of fun with all of your ultracycling. It's not all serious, but some fun and games as well, and looking good. Now, which race was this photo from?
This is from the Glocknermann, from the championship.
Oh, cool. Yeah, looking good, and you look happy to be on the bike.
Yes, that's what I learned from Ralph Disigiscore. Don't take it too serious.
Yeah, those are very good words of wisdom. And on those lines, what are your own tips for people wanting to get started with ultracycling?
The first thing is just try it, and if it's getting tough and hard, just spin it, and don't care if you are going slow or not. Turn off your bike computer, don't care about it, just spin it. And after the hard times, you get a high, and a really high, and it's the high that when you realize that the tough time is now over, and then you are proud of yourself that you didn't stop and just go on, or went on.
Mm. Thanks for those
and
tips.
and take your time. It's a long journey to become an ultra cyclist. It takes a long time. Take your time. Everyone struggles. Just go on. Keep pushing.
Mm. Those are very good tips, Philip. Thank you for sharing that. There was so much wisdom that you shared on this show. And again, it's incredible that just after 4 years of being an ultra cyclist yourself, that you've learned so much about the sport and about what it takes to be successful. And of course, a big congratulations again on your second place at the Race Around Niedero sterreich. Incredible achievement. And I can only see big things happening in your roadmap just based on what you've been able to accomplish already in such a short amount of time. So keep it going, and I'm glad you were able to make it through what I'm sure were two very difficult DNFs in the race around Austria last year and this year. But I hope that the second place can give you that motivation to keep pushing hard. And when you get back in the season, I'm excited to see what you're able to accomplish. And of course, we'll have you back on the show to see what else you're able to accomplish.
Yes, for sure. Just drop a note and I will be there.
All right. So, Philip, to end on a fun note, a sprint to the finish line set of questions, just a few short ones here. When is your next long training ride and how long will it be?
I don't know. I can't tell you because my coach gives me a plan for week to week. So I really don't know.
So, always a surprise. Now, how
Yes.
would you rate yourself in terms of bicycle maintenance on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very good? Do you lube your chains? Do you change out your parts? Do you clean your bike?
Well, I lube my chain, but I don't clean my bike. My my former coach is also a bike mechanic,
Oh.
and when I bring him my bike, I think once a year, then it just cleans it before he touches it because it's so awful.
Yeah. So what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you put yourself?
Oh, well, I think better say 4.
4? Okay. I think there was one other person on the show so far that said about a 4, so you're in good company. Cool. Okay, Philip, who would you want to nominate for a future episode? Is there somebody that has inspired you, a story that you would love to know more about?
Good question. Well, I think Robert Müller would be a good one because he's so new in this scene, but he did a lot of elite cycling races in Germany, short ones. So it would be a good new input.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. And of course, he was third place just behind you and Christoph in the race around Niedero sterreich. So that'll be a good person to have on the show. So thank you for that nomination. And again, Philip, big congratulations on your recent second place victory, a huge accomplishment. And we'll look forward to following your journey. So thanks again.
Thanks a lot for the invitation.
All right, everybody at home, we thank you for tuning in. Hope you got some excitement and motivation from this episode with Philip. And hopefully you can make it out to Austria one day to compete with some of the big shots out there, including Christoph and Severin and Philip himself, of course. And there was a lot of great wisdom and a lot of great tips here. So I hope you can use those to help yourself be successful in ultracycling. Until our next show and time together, everyone keep spinning ultra.